And we're off. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the All Dolphins podcast. It's Behind Enemy Lines time. And this is the Los Angeles Charger edition. And for return engagement, can't believe actually he agreed to do this again after the hell I put him through last time. I kid. Fernando Ramirez of the Sporting Tribune out in Southern California, also co host of Compas on the Beat, the podcast. Um, Welcome back, I should say. Fernando, how are you?
I appreciate it. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm great. It's been a interesting start of the season, but I'm definitely happy to always talk Chargers and Dolphins with you.
Yeah, interesting for this interesting start to the season for both teams. While the Dolphins have sucked from the beginning, excuse the language, the Chargers actually got off to a great start, 3-0, including a win against the the unavoidable. Sorry, Kansas City Chiefs. I have major Chiefs fatigue syndrome, so any team that beats them is a good game for me. And then the last 2 weeks, losses against the New York Giants, against the Washington Commanders. It's injuries up the wazoo on the offensive line. They can't protect Justin Herbert. Actually, Dolphin fans who think Tua has it bad behind this offensive line might be worse with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Um, they made a trade on Tuesday,
Yep.
acquiring pass rusher from Penn State from the Baltimore Ravens. Owe, first name is escapes me right now. Ofa Owe, maybe, I believe. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Yep.
Okay. So what's
Odafe.
Okay, so what's the state of the Chargers right now? The outlook as they stand at 3-2 heading into this game Sunday.
Well, obviously they had to bring Odafe, because they couldn't generate a pass rush outside of Tuli Pelotu. So they were having a very hard time. They're missing Khalil Mack. This is also a move for when Khalil returns to have all three of those guys. I know they had Bud Dupree, Caleb Murphy, guys, Kyle Kennard, a rookie, but those guys weren't cutting it. So they needed to go out and get an edge rusher that would be able to add into the mix. Last year he had over 10 sacks,
Mhm.
and he's long, he's athletic. So I can see why they made this move. Now they have two viable pass rushers that can get to the quarterback, and it definitely helps. I mean, obviously when Khalil Mack comes back, they'll have three, but it shows that they're not asleep. A lot of people are saying that Joe Ortiz was asleep up there in his ivory tower, but now he's awake, makes a big move, and their safety position they have depth there. So Alohi Gilman, while obviously he's been a good player for them, now he's off the books, and Tony Jefferson is the one that kind of steps into that next safety role.
He's a good solid veteran. He's not a
Very good.
star.
He's a good tackler. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good solid veteran. But back to my original question. So that
Yeah.
if looking at the Chargers from your vantage point,
Yeah.
are they more like the team that started 3-0? Or are they more like the team that lost both games, scoring 18 points against the Giants and 10 against
Yeah.
Washington?
Ask me in 3 weeks when guys come back. But no, I think they're more like the 3-0 team. They have that makeup. The only problem is that Joe Alt going down really hurt this team, and Mekhi Becton hurt his hand. Trey Pipkins has a knee injury. Bradley Bozeman has been horrendous, to the point where Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, every single press conference, are being asked, and you can tell Jim's annoyed by it. But if everybody else sees it, like there's a play, Alan, where Herbert goes, check, 94 is hot, 94 is hot. Bradley checks out of that and goes to something else. And Justin goes, no. He sees the clock, he hikes it. And guess who comes in and goes right at Herbert, 94. And guess what happened on the other side? There was a receiver wide open. If Herbert would have only have had time, he has 2.16 seconds to throw the football. What quarterback, even Tom Brady, I don't think could get it out that quickly. But it all rests on their offensive line. If their offensive line can't get going, then that's what I was saying the other day. Without Omari and Hampton or Najee Harris, every team should just go cover zero and see what they can do. Just because that's the name of the game. If you can get to Justin Herbert, which unfortunately he's trying to do as much as he can. I take PFF with a grain of salt, but Herbert had an 84 grade on Sunday, while his offensive lineman, the next highest, was like at a 50. How do you do? How's one an 84 and the other one 50? So yeah, they have to play. They have to do something with this offensive line, because it's worse than piss poor. It's just terrible. It's embarrassing.
I don't know what term would apply for a line worse than piss poor, but and again,
Yeah.
this could be quite the matchup of offensive lines here we have at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday, because the Dolphin offensive line ain't the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
And Dolphins have their own issues. And you referenced Joe Alt, who was going to slated to be the starting right tackle, moved over to left tackle because Rashawn Slater, their All-Pro left tackle, tore up a knee in the preseason, out for the entire season on IR. Now Joe Alt's on IR, and now it's shuffling, and it's players. And as I say for the Dolphins, I mean, it sucks to be them, and it sucks to be the Dolphins, who are missing their right guard and right tackle. And this is where I would tell you, if you feel bad about that, Slater and Joe Alt as a combination, probably a lot better than James Daniels and Austin Jackson, if we're going to be honest. And you talked about the running backs. No Najee Harris on IR, no Marion Hampton on IR. So we're going to the third stringer, which could be dangerous for the Dolphins, who just gave up 206 yards to Rico Dowdle, the number 2 in Carolina.
Yeah. No, and Kimani Vidal's been a guy that they've kind of I don't want to say suppressed. They've kind of kept him on the roster, but he's quietly he had a strong preseason. Last year he had a really good opening play. His first snap against the Broncos, he does a wheel route. He catches a pass 40 yards down the field for a touchdown. So I'm sure the Chargers are going to look at that Panthers tape and see what way they can use their running backs. Nyheim Hines just got added back to the Chargers practice squad, so I'm sure they'll probably bring him up as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see the way that they're trying to build this team. Now they're trying to grab and see what they can do. I was told that that there's going to be changes. That's what we were told on Sunday. That's what we've been told on Monday. There's going to be changes to that offensive line. I'm sure Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh aren't done making trades yet. We still have about a month before the trade deadline. But I'm pretty sure they're going to be moving and grooving, because they feel like this team is special. And I think they even believe that they're more like that 3-0 team than they are this 0-2 team. But again, you have to win AFC matchups. That's going to be the key thing. So yeah, you lost the last 2 NFC East games. Okay, I get it. But now you're going back to an AFC matchup where you're 3-0. You need to get another AFC matchup victory. If not, you know what happens during the end of the season when you're trying to pick when playoff teams are starting to stack up. They look at AFC. So that's a big one this weekend.
They're the best 3-0 possible, 3-2 possible, because they're 3-0 not only in the AFC, in the division.
Yeah,
their 2 losses are against NFC teams. So if you're going to be 3-2, that's the best way for the Dolphins. It's just about can they turn it around. Okay, I got to ask you the question that's obligatory. It's going to come up later Wednesday. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be doing his weekly media session. I'm going to suggest it's probably on the upper side of highly likely he's going to be asked about Justin Herbert, because, of course, they went 5th and 6th in the 2020 NFL draft. Tua right now has a higher passer rating than Justin Herbert for the 2025 season. He's come up short at the end 3 times so far this year, which has been the bugaboo with him. How would you evaluate Justin Herbert's season so far?
Justin's taken a beating, and I mean, and I asked Jim Harbaugh in New York, I'm like, you speak about, and you've said it before, you speak about, you want everybody to get up to Justin Herbert, to play up to his potential. You woke up at 3 a.m. one night and said, I have to get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame. The offensive line that you've put in front of him isn't an offensive line that's going to do that. I'm like, he's been hit. What was it? He's up to 34 times in the last 3 games. He's been sacked 12 times in the last 3 games. And he kind of said, well, we need to get better. And I'm like, well, yeah. And then he was asked, do you think you have the correct team or the correct pieces to be able to protect Justin Herbert? He said, yeah, I do. I don't know if he truly believes that, but something, they have to do something, because I thought Justin was having a very good start to his season in the first 3 games, and especially that game against Denver where he throws that ridiculous pass to Keenan Allen to be only to tie the game up and everything. And he's even made really good throws in the last 2 that are losses, but it's just he doesn't have any time. So as of right now, I would say that Justin's the reason why they're 3-0. Or 3-2, sorry. But they definitely need to step up their game. If not, Justin Herbert's on pace to get out hit. He's gonna pass a stat that of Andrew Luck's that nobody wants him to pass.
Yeah.
He's gonna be hit 80 more times than Andrew Luck was in his first 6 seasons. And we all saw what happened with Andrew Luck after a couple seasons. He's like, you know what? This is it. I can't. My body can no longer take this. So Charger fans don't want to see that in their future when it comes to Justin Herbert. But yeah, I've listened to some of the Tua press conferences. For some reason, they always pop up, and I listen to them. He's an interesting guy. I loved when he was honest about Tyreek Hill, and he's like, hey, he has to make it up to us. Basically, like, this relationship is not. I mean, this was obviously back in during training camp or whatever. But I appreciated the honesty.
Yeah, except my only problem with that is, and then later on, that toward the end of training camp, when he was asked how things were going along with him and Tyreek, he was like, well, no, people blew that out of proportion. And like, okay, well, you saying that Tyreek needed some mend fences, kind of like you put it out there. So anyway, that's beside the point there. The Dolphin fan base right now, a lot of them have turned onto I think he still has this cluster of supporters who generally will focus on what he does well, and when there are breakdowns, they'll point to stuff around him. What's the fan base view of Herbert?
They love him. I mean, this fan base has seen in the last few years of Phillip Rivers the way that the ownership and the general manager failed the quarterback. And they kind of feel like that's happening again, where Justin Herbert has all the time. And I'll tell you one thing, Justin Herbert is way more talented than Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Phillip was physically just he's something else. Phillip, though, was a student of the game. I remember Keenan Allen would always tell me this story where one time they got blown out by somebody, and Phillip would tell the opposing TV or the guy that prepares the iPads for them, he'd be like, I want the last 3 games of the opponent that we're playing. I want it already loaded up, and I want the game that we just had. And the guy was like, oh, that's kind of hard. I want it all. And right when Phillip would get on the team plane, he'd start he's like, guys would be watching movies or they'd be playing cards. Phillip would be studying. I've heard that Justin is very studious. But Justin is such a smart guy that he could see stuff and know exactly. I think he has a photogenic memory, if I'm not mistaken. He said it one time back in 2020, but the fan base loves him. They know exactly what they have in him. They feel like he's a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. It's just, this is like the 2004 draft. Who are going to be the 2 or 3 quarterbacks that win the Super Bowl out of this class? We already had Jalen, so Jalen's one. Who's going to be the next one? And the Charger fans are hoping that with Jim Harbaugh, it'll finally the football gods will look down on them, smile, and say, "Here you go. It's your guys' time. Here, you're destined for a Super Bowl." But no, the fan base really loves Herbert. I have not seen one negative. It's the national media, I think, that kind of they don't really take to Herbert. They like to blame him for a lot, and it's like, if you saw the ineptitude of what's happened in the past, you wouldn't be saying it's on Herbert, because the beating that Phillip Rivers took at the end of his career also wasn't warranted, or you're just like, wow.
Yeah, what doesn't help Herbert is the playoff stats are pretty poor. Even though, to me, like, I've gotten into it with Twitter folks. If you watch a playoff game against Jacksonville and they're like, well, Herbert blew a 27-0 or whatever the score was. No, how about you watch the game? It wasn't Herbert. It
Doug
was
Peterson. Yeah, he made adjustments at Brandon Staley. It made Brandon Staley's head spin. So, and then Brandon Staley got rid of all of the former coaches the former NFL players that were on his staff. He got rid of all of them because they were all telling him that was one of the worst coached games that we've ever seen. And he was pissed and he got rid of all of them. So, that it takes 2 to tango, like you're saying. It takes 2. And the defense was pissed. How the hell do you pick off a quarterback 4 times in the first half, and then in the second half he goes from being freaking, I don't know, he goes from being a complete nobody to
from Nathan Peterman to Tom Brady.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking about. Nathan Peter. How does he go from Nathan Peterman to Tom Brady in 1 half, in 15 minutes? How does that happen? So I completely agree with you. They Justin Herbert does get treated a lot differently than other quarterbacks, but yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Brandon Staley, because there's an interesting parallel here. And I actually talked about this on the All Podcast Tuesday episode, that my take is that, generally speaking, if you have an owner or a coach whose job security is very shaky at the end of a year and they decide to bring him back, generally speaking, that's going to work out really poorly. And I went back to the Joe Philbin experience with Miami. And then another one is Brandon Staley. After that playoff loss, there were a lot of folks, media, I don't know where the fans were on that, they were like, the Chargers need to get rid of him. They brought him back. He didn't last through the next season. And right now it's kind of shaping up that way a little bit with Mike McDaniel, where the owner had to put out a statement at the end of last year saying, well, I'm bringing back Mike McDaniel and my GM, Chris Greer. And right now, all the talk around Miami nationally, a lot of places nationally is Mike McDaniel is going to survive the year. What was that Brandon Staley experience like?
He's a strange guy, isn't he? Like, I saw that his quote.
Yeah,
I saw his quote that he's like, the owner and I sat and we talked, and he was frustrated. I'm frustrated. And then we started talking about the Chargers game, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. And then obviously he's like,
here's the thing. He's very quirky, but as far as that particular answer is, don't you think he doesn't want to reveal what the conversation was? I mean,
and then I heard the other quote where he's like, yeah, we're one step closer to death or something like that. I was like, geez. I'm like, what?
Man, that's gotten a lot of mileage. And no, and the part of it that was very, very weird was he came out. This was at the very beginning when he's greeting the media as he walks into the media room, and is like, it's a great day today. And then somebody asked him, why are you so pepped up? And it's like, well, we're one day closer to death. And okay, everybody's laughing. And it's like, to me, immediately, I'm thinking of the Pink Floyd song. But is that, really something to celebrate, being one day closer to death? I don't know.
Yeah, that's I can't wait for your book, by the way, the Mike McDaniel experience or something like that.
It's something.
Yeah, I'm sure. That last year was very rough for Brandon. Like, he came in with like a beard. He looked completely different. He looked unkept at times. Like, he just looked like he knew that he was walking the plank, sort of say. And they started off the season really rough. Mike Williams tears his. So the same play that Mike Williams tore his AC or broke his not broke his back, but had his back injury in Denver. That's where it all started. The last game of the season, everybody's saying they need to sit Herbert, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen. They don't decide to do that until the fourth quarter. Mike Williams takes a pass in the first quarter, and it's a screen pass why are you running a screen pass with a 6'5" receiver? Who knows? They do a screen pass to him. He hurts his back. They take him out. Well, everybody is like blitzing him. Like, why did you do that? Why did you let him go out there? He's now hurt. He's not going to be there in Jacksonville. One of my good friends from the LA Times tweets out before the Jacksonville game. I'm just going to throw this tweet out there now. If Mike Williams would have played in this game, the Chargers would win this game. I was like, wow. But that's where it all started, the second guessing of Brandon Staley. And then the next year, they're in Minnesota. They decide to run the same screenplay again to Mike Williams. He tears his ACL on the play. It's kind of like, what? Like, why do you decide to do that again? Like, and so they decided to do it. Brandon was very off with his questions. He wasn't happy. We were asking him, are you still going to call the defense? He's like, let's get this thing straight. This is my defense. I'm going to be calling it. You have players that are telling us that there's a big rift between the offense and their defense, that Brandon Staley is basically blaming players for their offense, for the offense not being able to keep up with his defense when his defense was one of the worst in the NFL. So it was little things like that you could just totally tell that they were out of sync and that Brandon was a dead man walking. And then Justin gets hurt against Denver. Easton Stick starts against the Raiders. They get blown out to the point where there was no way they could have kept him or GM Tom Telesco. So they fired both of them the next morning. But yeah, it was. And then that's when I finally wrote, it's time for Dean Spanos for the Spanos family to stop hiring children in the sense of first year head coaches. They needed an adult in the room. and obviously the Chargers end up hiring Jim Harbaugh, and it's been completely night and day since Jim came in as the head coach.
And we should mention that the first game of Brandon Staley's last season with the Chargers was against these very Miami Dolphins.
When he put Khalil Mack against Tyreek Hill in coverage on the very first play of the game, and Tyreek Hill got a 25-yard catch and run, I believe.
No, and it was interesting because the year before they had played, and the Chargers completely muzzled the passing game.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, this is when the Dolphins started with the cheat motion, and Tyreek Hill went nuts. Waddle went nuts. Tua went nuts. That was a 36-34 game. And
the only highlight of that game was J.C. Jackson earned $1 million out of his $82 million contract by picking off Tua in the end zone, but that was all he ever did as a Charger.
And then he brought it back and then got tackled at the 1 or the 2 yard line, which led to Cater Cohu's third down sack of Herbert upon the Dolphins start in Chargers territory. And then the very first play of the next drive, Tua hits Tyreek for a touchdown. And then J.C. Jackson was also the guy who committed the DPI on the last play of the first half to get the Dolphins a free.
Is that the last time they played?
That is the last time they played. Yeah, they didn't play in 2024, unless I'm
okay. No. I was just wondering if they had played since then.
No,
okay.
The Dolphins played the Raiders last year from the AFC West.
God, it's been a minute.
Well, it's been 2 years, and they play next year. They're in the rotation. The Chargers come back to
Miami. Yeah. That I won't be able to make the one this weekend, but I'll definitely next year. I will definitely be out there because it's been too long, Miami, since I've been out there.
Okay, very cool. I like it. I like that.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about it from this particular game? You mentioned Tuipolo too a little earlier. This is the part where I mentioned for Dolphin fans. This is a guy who had 4 sacks a couple of weeks ago. The Giants
against the Giants. Yep.
And this was a guy who was picked, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 picks in the 2023 draft after the Dolphins selected cornerback Cam Smith, who's no longer on the roster. So we want to know why the Dolphins are suffering. It's draft decisions like that, and we could go on and on and on and on. There have been too many of those. So what's your gut telling you as far as what the game Sunday might look like?
I think it's going to be really ugly. I know everybody's expecting high scoring. For some reason, I feel like it's going to be low scoring because neither one of these offenses might not be able to get going. But one thing that they've been really doing, and Justin's been doing it himself, is taking off running. So I think that's added an element to his game that is definitely going to help them out. Now, again, in that Giants game, there was no way he was going to take off running. Those three, Abdul Carter, Thibodeau, and Brian Burns, those guys are ridiculous. Like they really suffocated an offensive line. And at first they were fine. The Chargers were completely fine with it. But as soon as Joe Alt went down, it's like a switch got flipped in those guys, and they just completely went full. That's like having Mike Myers, Chainsaw Massacre, and Freddie on the same pass rush, because all three of those guys were in. Herbert had to have seen nightmares with all three of those guys. But even last week, Alan, the Commanders don't have a good defensive line or a good front seven, and they were just
a good player, and that's about it.
Exactly. They were all over Justin Herbert. They hit him 8 times and they sacked him 4 times. Like, I'm surprised. So I think this is the week where the Chargers do shake it up and try and add a different element to their offensive line. I don't know how you can shake it up. The only way I could see it is if they bench Bradley Bozeman, but I just or move Jamari Sawyer to left tackle. But they're gonna have to do something. If not, this is gonna get really ugly. And like I said, it's an AFC game that you need to win.
Wanted to touch on a couple of former Dolphin players. Pro Football Focus is not necessarily the gospel with their grades. Yeah. However, it's not completely useless. They have, as a number 2 interior defensive lineman in the entire NFL, a guy who lasted, I want to say 2 months maybe with the Dolphins. That would be Tahir Tart. Has he been a stud from the time? I mean, this is the second season with the Chargers. Has he been a stud from the beginning? And also, how well has Deshaun Hand done? Because the Dolphins certainly could use him this year after he signed as a free agent with the Chargers.
Tahir Tart, you put me onto him. You told me if coaching can, if they can get him going, he'll be great or he'll be good. I didn't expect him to be this good. He's been very solid for them. Even last year, him and Puna Ford really solidified a very good defensive tackle duo, and they were very good with it. And this year, Puna Ford's gone, and I thought, Tier might suffer a little bit from it. He's kind of been the you know how every team needs kind of a villain on their team. He's been the villain for the Chargers.
Yeah.
He went at Swifties. He's gone at other fans. He's really been. He talks a lot. But man, he's just so good. The other day, he swallows up the running back and he yanks the ball out of his hand and keeps it in his hand, and he goes down with it. Just when the Chargers needed to play against the Chiefs, he knocks down the pass on a 2-point conversion. He's been the guy on the defensive line that has really taken it upon himself to kind of energize the Chargers when they need it. And he's so athletic too. There was a play where the Commanders tried to run outside, and Tier ran, and he was able to tackle the running. Like, he caught up to the running back, tackled him behind the line, and brought him down. And it just looked like one of those guys that's like against the bull, and he's just able to sit him down. That's what Tier's kind of been too. So he's been very good against the run. He's been an excellent player, and I think the Chargers are very happy about him. I would be surprised if they let him walk in the offseason. I know the staff is very, very pleased with the way he's played so far in the 2 years that he's been a Charger.
How about Deshaun Hand? How's he played for you?
He's been very good.
Okay.
He's been very good. He had a
Sorry.
I think he had a sack. I think he had a sack on Mahomes, if I don't believe. But him and Tier have really formed a very good duo on the defensive line. And everybody thought coming in it was going to be Tier Tart and Otito Ogbanya. But no, I thought Deshaun Hand would have the upper, no pun intended, the upper hand in this one, just because, yeah, exactly. He's a very good player. He's a very good pass rusher. He's exactly what the Chargers have kind of needed. Like, Tier's kind of that run stopper. Deshaun's willing to get his helmet into there, but where he's been very good is rushing the passer and getting after the opposing quarterback. So he's been very solid for them as well. The Chargers with their defensive line have been low risk, high reward kind of guys. And that's exactly, and they've all literally panned out for them so far this season.
That's interesting. And Tart, by the way, I should mention, is from my alma mater of Florida International University. Thank you.
Oh.
Along with Jonnu Smith and T.Y. Hilton, who became, I think, the first football player from the FIU Hall of Fame, something along those lines. But it's
I used to love his celebration.
Who, T.Y. Hilton?
T.Y. Hilton. He used to do the up there, the T and then the Y.
I remember. That could fly though. Woo. But Tart's an interesting case because Tart, even before he joined the Dolphins, the reputation was he's a good athlete. He can make plays. He also has got a reputation for being, for lack of a better word, lazy. And then we saw him like it was a training camp or mini camp, and that dude looked like he was so disinterested. And when the Dolphins let him go, it's like, okay. And then the Dolphins' comments for letting him go was he wasn't a good fit for the scheme, which was weird, because then if that's the case, why did you sign him in the first place?
Yeah.
Change the scheme. So maybe they were too polite to say the effort wasn't there, but then he goes to the Chargers and all of a sudden he's balling out. So
yeah. That's how the NFL goes.
No, absolutely. And I will leave you with talking just very quickly about the wide receiver core, which was a major, major question mark heading into the season for the Chargers and could give the Dolphins problems, because now all of a sudden you knew Ladd McConkey was going to ball out because he's a really, really good player. Quentin Johnson last year did nothing but drop balls. This year he's actually turned into a really, really good player. He had a bad fumble against Washington. However, I just saw today all over the place on Twitter a different angle where it was a clear helmet-to-helmet hit that was missed that kind of preceded the fumble. And then you got Keenan Allen, who came back and looks like Keenan Allen of old from the Chargers. So, and then the another member of the receiving core, a tight end. Actually, I should ask you about him because he's got a tie to the Dolphin. Of course, that being the son of former Dolphins wide receiver Oronde Gadsden. Oronde Gadsden, too, had a big breakout game, I think maybe week 3. Yeah, it was against Denver.
Yep.
Kind of quiet the last 2 weeks. What's his outlook?
Well, obviously, when it comes to Oronde, they're very excited about what he brings. They've been, because of the offensive line problems, they haven't been able to use him as much. His snap count has gone down since the offensive line has been pretty poor. So I'm sure the Chargers are going to try and get him in there more and more, but it has been a little bit of struggle to get him in there because they're using Tucker Fisk, they're using Tyler Conklin, they're using Will Dissly hasn't been there for 2 weeks, but they were using guys like that. But I think they need to go back to Aronde. I think Aronde and Herbert have had a very good connection during training camp, and I'm sure they want to build off on that. When you come to the receivers, Ladd's gotten off to a slow start, and it's kind of similar to the start he had last year. I remember 5 weeks into the season, they had just played the Cardinals. Ladd, I think, had a crucial drop on a 3rd down, and they had a punt, and fans were getting after him. And after that game, he turned it all around. So I feel like that's where so he obviously, I think, is just kind of getting warmed up. He's getting started. Keenan's been great. He looks the same. He doesn't look like he's missed a step. Quentin Johnston's a guy that I've been telling fans, like, the people were trying to trade him in the offseason. I'm like, why are you trying to trade him? His get off when the ball snapped is one of the best I've seen, or it's the best I've seen him have in his 2 years here, or 3. And I really think that Quentin's really going to show a lot of people differently about who they think he is. I think the drops have been really settled. I know the fumble, everybody flipped out, and then Dan Quinn came out and said, oh, well, that was the turning point of the game. But I definitely think Quentin's one of their better receivers, and I think they're very excited about all 3 receivers. The only problem is that their offensive line is so bad. Herbert has no time to throw to them, but I'm pretty sure as soon as they can get healthy on the offensive line, all 3 receivers will shine, and obviously Aronde, I think, will get more playing time as well.
So, gang, get ready for a game where neither offensive line can block anybody. So that should be fun.
They might ask you. They might ask you to come down and block.
Oh no, I'm a tight end.
Okay, that's true.
No offensive line for me.
That's true.
All righty, that's going to wrap it up. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. He is Fernando Ramirez from the Sporting Tribune out in Southern California, also co-host of the Compas on the Beat podcast. Thank you very much, Fernando, as always. Much appreciated. And we'll do this again next year.
Let's do it.
Come back again. All righty. Thanks, everyone.